The U.S. Air Force has added 5th-generation F-35A stealth fighters to its concept of austere airfield operations in the Pacific. The exercise took place on the island of Guam. F-35 Joint Strike Fighters were deployed to operate from an austere airship at the northwest end of the island. This is part of a larger initiative of the Agile Combat Employment (ACE) exercise to disperse aerial assets. The new strategy aims to blunt threats posed by China in the Pacific theater. After touching down at Northwest Field, the F-35 participated in hot pit refueling, in which the jets were topped up at the austere base with their engines still running. This reduces the time on the ground with quick turnarounds and also increases the sortie rate. In this video, Defense Updates analyzes why the U.S. is operating 5th-generation F-35A stealth fighters from an obscure airfield close to China. Let's get started. This video is sponsored by War Thunder. If you are, like us, fascinated by military vehicles and technology, I recommend you give War Thunder a try. It's a military vehicle combat game which you can download and play for free on PC, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One with cross-platform support. It has a huge variety of more than 1,200 playable aircraft, tanks, helicopters, and ships from the 1930s to the 1990s, which you can take to battle on land, in the air, and at sea on more than 80 theaters of war. War Thunder's been kind enough to offer all Defense Updates viewers a special bonus, which will grant you a free premium tank, aircraft, or ship, and 3 days of premium account time for registering using our link in the description below. So take the plunge and join more than 20 million players from around the world. The Pacific theater is increasingly heating up. China claims almost 90% of the South China Sea through its so-called 9-dash line map. It says that it has indisputable sovereignty over the sea. It's important to note that several countries, which include Vietnam, the Philippines, Malaysia, Brunei, and Taiwan, have disputed Chinese assertions and have overlapping claims of their own. Countries like the US, Japan, India, and Australia have no claims, but want freedom of navigation. Though the wide-reaching Chinese demarcation was rejected by an arbitral tribunal at The Hague in July 2016, it hasn't stopped China from harassing vessels of other nations, as well as militarizing several islands, which includes deploying long-range air defense systems and anti-ship missiles. China has differences with several nations in the region. For example, it claims the Japanese government-administered Senkaku Islands and has border issues with India. It also threatened to bring Taiwan under its fold, even if it requires the use of force. US and China are at loggerheads, and the Pacific theater is a hotspot. Large bases are prime targets for preemptive strikes. Any aircraft is vulnerable while sitting on the ground at a well-known base. There are lessons to be taken from history, and one of these is from the Six-Day War. On June 5, 1967, Israel launched a series of airstrikes against Egyptian airfields. The Egyptians were caught by surprise, and nearly the entire Egyptian Air Force was destroyed with few Israeli losses, giving the Israelis air supremacy. Keeping that in view, in recent times, the U.S. Air Force is perfecting a strategy to disperse its assets. Going forward, the jets will increasingly operate from smaller and more discrete bases. According to a U.S. Air Force press release, Agile Combat Employment is the new warfighting concept that Pacific Air Forces is operationalizing to ensure agility, deterrence, and resiliency in a contested or degraded environment. One part of this initiative is to find alternative runways which could be used along with the major ones. Guam is pretty close to China and would surely be among China's highest priority targets if a conflict breaks out. Chinese military strategists have taken this into consideration, and a lot of effort has been spent to address this situation. Actually, China has come up with a weapon specifically to address this threat, the DF26 ballistic missile. The DF26 has a range of 4,000 kilometers or 2,500 miles and is thought to be designed to conduct precision nuclear or conventional strikes against ground and naval targets. The missile is deemed to have an accuracy of 100 meters CEP. It's China's first conventionally armed ballistic missile capable of reaching Guam and the American military installations located there. This has led to the missile being referred to by netizens as the Guam Express or Guam Killer. The missile was officially revealed at the Chinese 2015 parade commemorating the end of the Second World War. In April 2018, it was officially confirmed that the DF26 was in service with the People's Liberation Army Rocket Force. As per reports, China currently has at least 16 launchers for this missile. People's Liberation Army Air Force recruitment video last year even showed bombers launching a mock attack on this base. Reports indicate that the length of Northwest Field has been increased, and this will enable it to support F-35s. But this is only one part of the story. Operation and maintenance of jets from facilities that have only basic infrastructure is a difficult job. This is particularly true for fifth-generation jets like the F-35, which have specialized requirements. Currently, there are no proper hangars, and repair works will have to be carried in the open air. But all of these can be taken care of in the coming days. It's interesting to note that the U.S. has by far the largest number of bases, and each of these could potentially be turned into launch pads. Agile Combat Employment concept is not restricted to the Northwest Field, but it's been formulated keeping in mind the larger Pacific Theater. The idea is to enable operations from diverse and discrete locations with small packages of aircraft taking off from each of them. This will reduce the chance of large numbers of aircraft being neutralized by a preemptive strike. This is not the first time such an endeavor is being undertaken. B-52s have used a smaller base on a coral limestone atoll in the mid-Pacific called Wake Island instead of taking off and landing at Pearl Harbor. It's also implemented hot reloading. In a similar move, a few F-22s from the 380th Air Expeditionary Wing at Al Dhafra Air Base in the UAE were deployed in a discrete base in the Middle East for possible intervention in the Syrian front. This was the implementation of the Rapid Raptor concept, as per which F-22s will have the ability to be deployed anywhere in the world within just 72 hours and operate from bases with limited infrastructure. The Agile Combat Employment concept will surely make it hard for China to defend against U.S. aerial attacks, considering that the U.S. Air Force is the most well-equipped one. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this. Hit the like button if you find the video interesting, and kindly provide your feedback in the comment section. This will help us improve.